Right, welcome to the Lonely Carpet Podcast, episode 4. Before we introduce our guest, we're going to tell you a little bit about why it's actually happening this episode. So basically, I plan to do a Nudduck Lake special, and obviously we had the family holiday, but my session didn't go to plan. But my next door neighbour, luckily, we got talking, and Ben had an amazing session. So this is now Ben's episode instead of my episode. So like I say, it's a pleasure to have him on. So welcome, Ben.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, our pleasure, mate. So my session didn't go to plan, but before we get into Nudduck Lake, how did you get into it, mate? Fishing, carp fishing.
So, so it's like probably I've fished all my life. My dad got me into it. I course fished as a young lad, and then as I got older, I stopped doing that as much. But I always took my travel fly rod around with me everywhere I went. So probably up to the age of, well, probably about 3, 4 years ago now, I used to just fly fish, catch little trout up to 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds, and I was really happy. And then my mate invited me along. He said, "Oh, you fish? Why don't you come along on a fishing trip for me?" And the first trip that we went on was similar to how unfortunately yours ended up at Nudduck Wood. Everybody in the whole lake blanked, and still I got off the end of the weekend thinking I could get into this. I really enjoyed it, so I started collecting a bit of my gear and I got all the basic stuff. I got my 10-foot telescopics and started hitting just runs waters locally. Started as you do as you go along. You go for the 4, 5, 6 pounds, and then you start moving your way up. Yeah, getting into it really was more of a social thing before it became my hobby because it gave me a chance to get along with my mate on the bank and just kind of have a bit of a good time really. And then I say I've probably been carp fishing properly now for about give or take about a year, 18 months. And yeah, once it catches you, it catches you more than you actually catch the fish, isn't it? And
Yeah,
yeah, love it to bits now.
that's it, mate. It's everyone picks it up for their own reasons, and I was the same, mate. Obviously, I got into it, and Max obviously I was course fishing at the time when Max was born. I thought, well, I can't take the little and obviously course fishing and me course fish at the same time. So I thought carp fishing, get the rods out, sit on his peg, and then it ended up being social for me. Obviously, I started going with my mate Mick, and yeah, it's all good times, mate, isn't it?
That's what it is. That's what it's all about. And even if you don't catch, it's the people that you meet. I mean, it's funny. I was just thinking about this, like the people that you do meet when you actually go on your sessions, sometimes makes the whole thing worthwhile. And when you get talking and you share each other's trials and tribulations, is part of the parcel of being a carp fisherman. If it doesn't go right for you, like you've said, it goes right for somebody else, and you're just as chuffed for them, aren't you?
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it. Like I said, I shared your amazing session, but we'll get on that in a bit. Yeah, so obviously once you got started, uh, did you take any influence off of wranglers, or did you see some people and think, oh,
So I quickly realised since going with a friend, like everybody does their own things differently, and I'm quite meticulous in what I do, and I watch so much YouTube videos. I think if there's any video that comes on within about 20 minutes, I'll have like noted it, subscribed it, ready to put it on, and probably like you watch different people and learn different techniques. Like Tom Maker obviously kills it. He pulls in fish for absolute fun, and the stuff that he does is he sometimes is unheard of. Like you think, how does that happen? But I like that there's a YouTuber called Carp King 71. I don't know if you've heard of him, and he's an old boy, and he doesn't catch every session, and it's real life fishing, and you just get into watching him, and say you enjoy his like milestones and achievements, and that's why I kind of like watching it, getting onto the bank and doing stuff that they do, that type of thing.
yeah, yeah. Well, you touched on it. You touched on there how, like, particularly why, mate. I've never seen anyone tie a PVA bag like yourself, mate. That was absolutely incredible.
They've got to be pristine. It's like one of those things like I see people licking and sticking, and it drives. I don't know if it's like a little bit of OCD or something like that, but it drives me wild. Anyway, PVA tape and making it all like a little parcel. Yeah, it's got to be right, hasn't it?
Well, mate, right. What I want to do is because obviously I put pictures on, I overlay pictures on this. So now I've touched on the subject of PVA bags. You're gonna have to. send me a photo of your nice little PVA bag, mate. And what I'll do is I'll actually put it on the YouTube so everyone can see this parcel of delight.
Funny you say that. I've got one. I'll send it to you now. So yeah, I'll pop it on. There you go.
Sound, because I'll have to show everyone, mate. It's a gift that. It's a gift.
It's one of the thing is like it used to take me ages, and now they all just come out like that. Yeah, it's one of those when you're confident with what you're putting out, and I say I've watched that from loads of YouTube videos. You watch people. I as far as carp fishermen go, I don't think you can go wrong with a PVA bag. Whether you're chucking out into random locations or you're baiting up a spot, if you know that hook bait is going to be presented nicely on top of a bed of bait that they're going to want to come down upon, if you've got the confidence in it, you just get used to it. And they say I've watched so many videos where people either put the rig down at the bottom, and I think it just in my head just doesn't sit right. Anyway, I can't remember who did it now. I don't think it was Tom Maker. It was anyway one of the other professionals. I think it was like a DNA lad or something like that. Put it on top, and it just say for me in my head it sits down on top of the weight with your bait above it, and yeah, happy days.
Yeah, it's mega though, mate.
Yeah, it's cool. It
Yes, it
looks.
is.
The thing is, before this session, I was saying it looks better than it actually produces, but somehow it smashed it out of the park for that week.
Oh,
Anyway,
when you described, obviously, the licking and sticking, when you show me your rigs, I thought, that's exactly how I lick and stick, and I'm a bit messy. And so when you described it there, you just described me, really. I just lick and
yeah,
stick. But when I seen yours, it was just like, I thought, he can't have made that. And then I came over and you were making one. I thought, wow. Yeah, so fair play, mate. Fair play.
cheers, man.
It's very, very
Is
good.
it nice one?
So yeah, so I thought you would have been when you said obviously influenced you. So I thought you would have said Rob. Rob, obviously, is it Burgess who ties the
Rob
peak?
Birch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he's a
thought.
smart PVA bag. Yeah, yeah. I think he might be the one I was thinking of. He puts them on top like that, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
Nicely fine.
I think you'd give him a run for your money, to be honest.
But then when you look at his PVA bags, the actual stuff that he puts in them, I like really fine, like the DNA mini crayfish. I say I watch them for the what they call now, I think they're called the social carpers or something like that. The carp bloggers. Anyway, they swear by that mini mix, and since I've been using that, my catches have been through the roof. So it's like presentation and bait, you've got to be happy with, haven't you?
No, yeah. Like I say, we might as well just basically jump straight on with Nudduck Lake now, mate. Why we're talking about him,
Yeah,
presenting it.
let's go for it.
So yeah, so basically, I was going to vlog it. I was going to do my session. I started off vlogging it, and yeah, so basically, this podcast's yours, mate, because what you achieved in them, and I'm going to say this as well. Ben actually had days out, so I stayed and I grafted for 4 days on that lake, and you even had days out, didn't you, mate, with family, and because you were there for like a little honeymoon, and you've just been married, so congratulations.
Thanks again. Yeah, cheers for that. Yeah, it was a mini moon. We booked it, and to be honest, I booked it with. It was the first time I'd taken Rachel proper carp fishing. She'd come along with for an afternoon on like a runs water, but nothing much. She actually pulled in a fish last time we went, and I managed to say, well, I sold it to her. So I managed to sell it to her. Goodness knows how, because she says she's not a fisherwoman. That it's a lodge with a hot tub is basically what I said, but I get to go fishing at the same time. And yeah, it was a good 4 days away. I think you could probably break like the reason why I chose that lake into a few little bits and bobs. And like you say, and hitting the nail on the head. When we went there, I didn't want it to be all about me and my fishing. In fact, as you say, I got back in from our days out at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then the rods were out then until 10 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, whilst we were there and whilst the rods were out, I was by them, but I was still trying to keep Poppy happy, my little daughter, and keeping Rachel entertained. And we ordered takeaways in. We sat down, and it was relaxed fishing.
Yeah.
But an unbelievable venue, and for what I wanted, it was just everything I could have hoped for. Really, it was just everything was meant.
Yeah, it's a top venue, isn't it?
Really good venue, and say touching on the subject of before we actually get into the nitty gritty of the fishing, the location where it is suited being able to take families around to places. We were local to zoos, we were local to parks, food places. So yeah, it was good for a holiday,
Yeah.
but the fishing was pretty special as well. Yeah.
Yeah, mate, you absolutely smashed it. Like I say, like you said, family time and then the fishing side. I think what you did was absolutely spot on. I sort of got there and I thought, I'm here for fishing, and then I got the rods out, and that was me for 4 days. Don't get me wrong, we're still in the hot tub, we're having fun, we're playing games and stuff. And the kids loved it, but obviously for the days out and that, I should have maybe, I don't know, but looking
No,
back, I think,
you don't do anything wrong. Like the thing is, your kids are old enough to be able to entertain themselves, and they were happy to entertain and to do bits around. Whereas Poppy wasn't going to sit by a lake for 4 days, so I knew that I had to take them out and kind of get them well. And it might have actually suited my fishing at some point
yeah, you
because
swim.
rest in the water or something like that.
Yeah, the good thing about it is actually, like you say, you touch on the subject there. Obviously, the kid's a bit older. Amy was getting up and we were taking the dog around the woods, and yeah, it's a mega venue. But yeah, so well, like you said, the nitty gritty of it, mate. I think was it Wednesday morning it all started.
So it started so Wednesday was the first take, but Tuesday night was when it started. I heard liners. It was that night where we were in these cabins and the wind was absolutely howling and I thought we were going to end up in the middle of the lake at some point. You were inside, whereas you were in your bivvy, weren't you?
Yeah, I was just want to say you're in the lot. I was the only one who bivvied up. I actually, you go on these beautiful lodges, and I've ended up bivvying up.
I put it down to you being kicked out, mate. It must be you snoring or something like that.
Hey, can't-
But yeah, it started on Tuesday night, and I said bringing Rachel into me fishing. I had my receiver and my bivvy light set up on the bedroom door, and all night they started beeping. Now I know when you get used to hearing alarms, like they go off and you hear a few beeps and you can go back to sleep. I've never seen somebody so terrified in my life when Rachel first heard the alarms go off. It was like somebody just dropped a bomb outside. She was up like, like what's going on? I said, just relax. It's all right. It's all right. Done a few liners. It must have been a few liners. And then 8 o'clock in the morning, yeah, the first one kind of rinsed off. And to be honest, you say the lake itself was always going to be a good lake for me to go in because a lot of the fish were already above my personal best. So my PB coming into the week was probably just over 18 pounds, and it was a fish that I'd got in Fox's Lake at Wyreside, and it was a stunning fish. But it's how you always want bigger once you get it. And so when I knew when I come into Nudduck Wood and you look at the stock that they have, I think he said that there was 100 fish, and then I think 20% of them are over the £30 mark, and then most of them are over the £20 mark. So I thought, well, do you know what? Brilliant. If I get a fish, it's going to be something to write home about, that type of thing.
yeah,
So yeah. 8 o'clock in the morning, absolutely rattled off and brought in the first fish. I think the first one was a £19. I think it was a mirror, that one, because my common came next. And it's funny when you go fishing and you haven't fished for a bit or caught for a bit. I think the last time I'd caught a carp was September the year before. You never think it's going to happen, and you think, oh, what am I doing wrong or what am I doing right? And even though your rods are in the water and you think, oh yeah, they're going to go off at some point, you never actually prepare yourself to when it does. And yeah, it
no,
was a good scrap, and I kind of knew then, well, I was right out as far as I could do in the boat. I suppose if you want to talk about my setup and rigs and what it was like
yeah,
when we
mate,
got
yeah, yeah,
so
definitely.
so really, if we start from the start, I quite like fishing short in, and I don't mind fishing the margins because I feel like that's where they could hide out and stuff like that. So the first day, I was very in. I was probably only 2 rod lengths out, 3 rod lengths out, and my middle rod I'd probably had it around 8 or 9 wraps, so relatively speaking, quite short. And then when I'd swapped on that Tuesday night, I'd used my mate's bait boat and sent it probably about 23 wraps out right to the middle. And I think that's what kind of, once you get that first bite, you're in the area. Then you think,
Yeah.
well, if you've got one bite, how can I get more bites? So after that point there, two rods went straight out, basically near enough on the spot, and then my right hand rod was on mine and your boundaries basically, but probably 17 wraps out. Anyway, within the 24 hours after that first bite, all three rods went off at some point where they were. And it was just one of those, I mean, you look at sessions and you think, yeah, he absolutely smashed it out of the park. And everything was just right. The bait was right. The positioning was right. I think, in all honesty, I was probably due a session like that, because there's only so many times you can look at what you're doing and think, how's it not going the way that I want it to? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that, mate. I was actually on the phone to my mate yesterday morning, and I said, I actually touched on the subject with you. I feel like I'm fishing because I fish winter, everything. I fish all through the year, and I felt like I got to winter, and I felt like I was fishing the best I've ever fished. Like my rigs, my presentation, my casting was even. I was hitting a clip.
Yeah.
Like I say, I've been a margin fisher like you said, but started learning distance fishing, spodding. I'm not a big caster, but I was on the phone. I said to my mate, I feel like I'm fishing the best I've ever fished, but without the results. And my mate was like, "Oh, it'll come." I said, "I've only had one fish this year," and he was like, "Well," he said, "No, you've had two." I said, "No, it was the same fish." Obviously, I caught the same fish. I'm a
Yeah, I remember you saying, yeah.
syndicate, 6 scale. So and I said, obviously, I've only just joined that syndicate in March, so I think it was March. So anyway, like January blanking, February blanking, obviously March one fish, April one fish, and then obviously, luckily enough, I went to the syndicate last night and I've got a new fish. But obviously, like I say, it was good. It was a stocky, and obviously, I'm ticking them off for the list. But yeah, two fish this year. It's been a strange year because like you say, I feel everything's right. Everything's come together. So I'm hoping that you're right. What you're saying there, session will come eventually.
And actually it gets moving. You say if you're not doing anything wrong, you kind of you feel like you're hitting yourself with, like, in the face type of thing, aren't you? You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
there's only
yeah,
so much there's only so much you can take. I remember before I'd caught that one at Wireside, obviously the session when I last caught before Nudduck Wood, I think I'd been on, I think 4 or 5 24 hours, maybe 4 or 5 24 hours on 148, and hadn't caught fish. And Rachel was like, "Are you really going fishing? Are you just going, telling me you're going fishing and going somewhere else?" I said, "No, you can see, look at these pictures." And you say you then start doubting yourself, but yeah, you get confident in your rigs. It's just placement, isn't it? And you can just keep on trying. I mean, the swims at Nudduck Wood were quite tight, and they were relatively kind of, I'm going to say, featureless. It's not like there was any massive. There was a big bowl in front of us, to be fair, wasn't there?
yeah,
But as far as features go, there wasn't many like trees to like pop under that were actually producing. And as soon as you got out to the middle of the lake, it was just a flat 7 foot all the way through. Then right the way to the other side, I think.
yeah. That was, like I say, that was the only thing. I think obviously my lodge is quite far from everyone else. I thought, and it was nice. I had all that side. I think if you hit that on the right day, that side with the margins and the reed, you'll have a mega session. But yeah, you sort of like pinned in, weren't you? And next door's cabin was quite close as well. But you still
Yeah,
have to,
yeah. And I'm never used to fishing swims like that. I never really like feeling closed
yeah,
in. And the benefit for me, and they say I wouldn't have had the session that I had without it, was the bait boat. You say,
yeah,
touching on that bait boat, really, it was the best thing I could have brought along with me, because it was just, I knew exactly how far it was going every time. It was going further than I could cast, and it was binging out 2 kilograms worth of bait every time it went into the middle. So I knew that there was bait around my bag,
yeah,
and that there was stuff for the fish to get in at. Yeah.
yeah. But like I say, I think it was it Thursday when you had that mega looking mirror, and that is just honestly, mate.
Oh, the scaly banger.
Oh man, it's a carp that I'd like in my photo album, mate.
Yeah, it was a stunning one. That I keep looking at pictures of it. And it's it does. I mean, I don't think it would have done it justice even more being in the daytime because the night, all of the golds reflected off the flash of the camera, didn't it?
Yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah, it was like I think that one was an evening bite, wasn't it? Can't quite remember. I think but it mustn't have been too late. I think 10 o'clock at night that one. But
I
yeah,
think that wasn't that where it was a bit. You had a run, it got snagged as well. Was that one? No?
Oh yeah, that was a really good fight. You say you, we touched on the subject before about me watching YouTube videos like no tomorrow, and honestly, I think I've watched so many situations where if it happens to me, I feel like I'm ready for it. So probably about 5 wraps out, there was a snag, and actually, I don't know if you saw it on the first night, but I'd put my rod out at 8 wraps and felt a knock, I heard a knock on it. And when I'd come to pull it, it was just really taut and really tight. And I went to on the other side of me, the other next door neighbour. I said, "What would you do?" He said, "Well, because he saw me struggling with it." He said, "Well, get out in the boat. Just get out in the boat and row it out. Because if there's a fish caught in that snag, then you'll want to know because it could be a big fish. There's red rum in there that's nearly 40 pounds." So I got there in my boat, and the boat didn't have any kind of U hooks, so I was like rowing like an absolute flid. Got my rod off Rachel and rowed out to the snag directly underneath it. I've never done it before, but you see on all of the YouTube channels I'm going out in France in the boat. So I was like, oh, if I pick this up now, it's got a fish. Is it going to take me around the lake or something like that? Anyway, picked it up and there was nothing on it. So then when I'd caught that fish, the scaly one, it was a real hard fight. It really did take some dragging in, and then just as I say, coming into the last bit where I thought it was all done, it hit this snag, and they must know it's there because it just went into it low as anything, and I just couldn't move it. And I thought if I pull into it more, I'm going to tighten it, I'm going to pull it, or it's going to snap or whatever. So yeah, I took some knowledge that I'd taken from a video and just put the rod down for 5 minutes. Just let it chill out. Me and you talked for a bit, didn't we? We just said, right,
Yeah,
we'll just let it do its own thing. And I took my bail arm off and just kind of left my rod so it was a little bit taut so that if it was coming, I'd know about it. Anyway, sure enough, after 5 minutes, it just must have realised a sense of right, it's all done now. I'm happy now, and it swam off. So took straight back onto it and managed to bring it back in. But
yeah,
yeah, it was a really good fight. That one of those moments in fishing where you think, oh yeah, I've actually done the carp there. Happy
yeah,
days.
yeah. It was a mega moment, mate. And like I said to you, I actually said to you and Rach, I said, cheers, because you shouted me over one morning as well, and to be there in your moment and that, and get some photos and that with you, Rach, Poppy. It was wicked, mate. Wicked. It's a memory that I won't forget, mate. You know what I mean?
It was really good to share like the experience with you. Obviously, getting towards the end of the session, we did everything to try and get you a bite, and it just wasn't happening. But like I said from the start, sometimes it's not about the catching; it's about the being there and the being around. And I enjoyed being able to share that with you, and at the same time, being able to kind of have that camaraderie about what is such a solo hobby
Yeah.
is priceless, really. Because at the end of the day, if you hadn't have come over, we wouldn't have had the chats, we wouldn't have had the banter, we wouldn't have, as well as once it gets into the net, you'll have felt half of what I felt, but you'd have still felt buzzing and like
Oh yeah,
ecstatic to see a carp and to see it in a net because that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Say seeing people ticking them off into
yeah,
getting
man.
doing it right.
That's a perfect way to put it, mate. Because obviously, I've never met you before. You never even heard of the Lonely Carper page before, and
No, that's right. Yeah,
now
I'm
you're on the
avid
podcast.
avid follower and liker now though.
That's it, mate. And I remember, like you say, I said I didn't. I said I've never met you, but the first thing I could do when I seen that carp, and I just give you a big hug, just to be in that moment. Like you say, like you touch on the subject. Sometimes you meet people on the bank, and they're the people you're gonna remember, and sometimes it's just all part of the process and all part of the journey. It's special moments like that. And I think that's what we look back on in the end. special moments, mate.
It is one of my favourite pictures is actually the one that we've got was both of us both with our little girls together, and they say it would have been better to have had one with us all on your peg as well.
Yeah.
But to be able to have both our little ones round there, having the picture, and you say it was special. It was, and that's what it's all about. And yeah, that's what fishing's about, isn't it?
Well, you never know, mate. That could be one for the future.
Nudduck Wood 2.0 coming out.
Yeah, but bloody hell. Thing is, though, it chewed me up and spat me out last time, so I'll be uh, I'll be a bit worried about doing it. But I'd do it, mate. Like I say, I'd love to do it again. But
I
I
think
loved it. I loved it,
I,
mate.
I think next time it'd be a different story. I think the wind was blowing wrong. I think there was that much pressure on the other side. I think they were just hiding out in the middle.
Well, my beard got a lot grey after that 4 days, anyway. So, mate, I both agree. I think it's a special place, special memories. Certainly a place that we'll go back to, I think.
Definitely, I think I would. I think when you look at it in three parts. You look at the lake with the fish. I think it's got the stock. It's got a growing stock. It's obviously got enough anglers putting food in to get this stock bigger as well. The lodges that we stayed in were like nothing short of luxury. They were unbelievable.
Yeah, nice.
The hot tubs, being able to sit watching Netflix whilst chilling with your missus with a like cheeky bottle of beer or something like that, or sat in the hot tub and knowing that any minute those rods could go off is something well special. And then
It
the,
sounds like we went to a different place, mate, because I didn't have a chance to sit and I was at my like I say, Amy was going, "Are you staying in the lodge tonight?" And I said, Nah. So I'm going to sit up till midnight to see if I see one show. And nah, it was mad, but yeah. So anyway, mate, I think we've touched on that subject, and we've got just a little quick fire bit, basically, mate. And yeah, it'd be nice to quick fire, get through these, and right, mate, we'll start with the first one. If carp didn't exist, obviously you touched on the subject before that you have fish for other species. So if carp didn't exist, what would it be and why?
salmon.
Salmon.
I'm yet to catch a salmon. I like the idea of carp. They put them weight quickly and they fight like the clappers. I think pound for pound, trout are on par with it, and the bigger versions of them are the salmon. So yeah, salmon is my if I wasn't carp fishing, that one.
I like that. I like that answer. I don't think many people will say that, mate.
Mm.
I said tench.
Did you? Yeah, well, you got that one.
I
Yeah, I
said,
love the colours of a tench, me.
yeah, you said last night when I texted you. Was it night before, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Night
you
before.
can get really good tench sessions as well. Once they're feeding on the spot tench, they're all there, and that's
Yeah,
possibly the issue you could have because
it
if they
was a mega
don't,
tench.
yeah, it was good size of it.
What did you say the page should be called? The Lonely Tencher.
The lonely tencher. There you go.
I like that. I like that, mate. It was made me chuckle, mate. That. So, mate, next one. One tackle company. If you only had to use one tackle company for everything across the board,
Tackle. Which one? Tackle or bait is what we're on about here.
so tackle company first. So obviously hooks, stuff like that, and lead anything really.
I've got loads of Corda stuff.
Mm.
It'd probably be Corda because they've got everything. But I've just recently swapped to Ridge Monkey bags, and they're the absolute business.
Now there.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it's got to Corda. They're so universal. It's got to be
Yeah,
Corda.
yeah. They're a good company. He's done well. I've just got them new spinner hooks. And I've tried them out in the last session. Now, the only downfall to them, they're exactly the same as the Kamakura. So
Yeah.
any nick. So basically, it's an old gravel pit I'm fishing on. So every time I wound in, the hook was again. It was.
Oh, was it? So you have to sharpen it.
It's
Sometimes sharpening them too much can actually make them degrade quicker as well, can't they?
Yeah, they're exactly the same as camera. If you do well, if you get the new spinner hooks, you do well if you get a couple of casts out of them on a rocky venue. That is obviously it's an old quarry, so there's a lot of
Yeah,
balls, a lot of rocks in it. But yeah, it was a really good hook hold last night when I got one, and yeah, it was a back. But yeah, again, the camera. Yeah, that's what put me off using the Kamakuras. So I've always used the curve shanks. I've had no issues with them.
yeah. I actually for part of my rigs, I actually get it from the Rig Wallet, which is like a northern local rig tire, and
Yeah,
the way that he does them, they're just right. And I know that if I could do them myself, but he charges. So I think Corda are like three for £4.50, something ridiculous that for the PVA bag rig, say. Whereas this guy will do them out for 90p. When you think about that, you think, well, if I'm buying all of the hook lengths, all of the hooks as well, I wouldn't do it as good as him as well. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. To be fair, use his. In fact, every time I catch a fish, I send it to him and say, "So it's your fish that you caught that for me."
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, it is. It is. So on the flip side of that, mate, bait company.
I've flitted around. I'm now a converted DNA baits,
Yeah, I thought you were going
100%
to say that.
through and through. Every bit of the range is just quality.
Yeah, I had a feeling you would say that because obviously all your DNA stuff when we were there, and you look so good in the bag as well.
Yeah, that mini mix, crayfish mini mix goes really well. And they do a maxi mix, which does well in your spod. I'd brought the bug along, the DNA bug, as my kind of boily, kind of general, kind of put out bait to put out, that type of thing. And I used it, and I don't know if it helps my catch anymore, but that crayfish stuff it's hit everywhere. Since I've started using it, I've started catching on it.
Yeah,
Swear by it.
you done well, mate. You done really well. So, mate, what about we're almost there? If we had to choose one, common or mirror?
Oh, I knew you were gonna say this one. Mirror all day,
Mirror.
every day. Yeah, definitely.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I'm always torn between it, but I can't even remember what I said. And I think I actually did say mirror, but yeah, I think I did. So if you could pick one person to fish with, apart from me, who would it be
Well,
and why?
he's got to be Tom Maker, hasn't he? You just want to see. I want to know what he's putting in his spod mix that makes all the fish just crawl to his bait, because what he does is just unreal. So you watch that many of him, and the fish. It's not just the amount; it's the size as well. Yeah, Tom Maker. I'd fish with him.
I think I've sussed what he uses. I think it's
What's it?
cherry coke in it. He loves cherry coke, doesn't he?
I keep watching him. He keeps in mind saying, "Oh, cherry coke." Can you imagine if he puts that in?
Hey, mate, who knows?
I've seen some people put some mad stuff in. Who's the guy that does now for carpology? Anyway, he was been putting Baileys in and
Yeah, I've seen
all
that one. Yeah,
sorts, condensed milk. And when you actually look at it, cherry coke. Apparently, AA Bates sell molasses, and coke is just molasses. So it could be
yeah.
cherry
See,
coke.
I've sussed onto him, mate.
That's it.
Sussed
Just
onto
trying to
him.
get sponsored by it just because he puts that much in his bait.
Yeah, it's a good little. I think I'd like him on advert. To be honest, he'd be good on advert. But uh, last one, mate. Really, dream venue.
I really want to tick off Monument 2. Everybody says you got to go linear. I think one I really want to tick off is Coking Farm, and there's Oak Lake there, and
Right.
that looks mint. It's not the biggest lake down there, but the fish that come out of it are unbelievable. And there's two small islands in there. There's massive carp. There's some good cats, because I don't mind fishing for cats sometimes. But yeah, I'd probably go down there.
Nice, nice. I'll tell you what, mate. We'll end on this one. We'll end on a UK 40 or overseas 60.
UK 40.
Yeah,
Keep it on home soil,
home
definitely.
soil.
Yeah, that's it. My mate went to France last year, and he's actually just invited me to go on for next year, September. to the same lake where he went. And the first day that he got there, he went from his personal best of 24 straight the way up to 45.
I keep my PB separate, like
Yeah,
England and
and
France.
France.
Yeah, you've got to, mate, because I went to France and obviously I got 56. And
Yeah,
my biggest over here, mate, is 6 scale. I think, I can't remember what 6 scale was now. My PB in England's only 24.
yeah,
Yeah, but I've had 4 or
56 up
5
there,
carp over 50 now.
all over in France. And that's the one thing that's not put me off going to France next year, but I'm really enjoying this process. Like
Yeah,
in my head now, so my PB from Nudduck Wood went from 18 before to 28 is what my final fish, my second to last fish was. It's £28, and I just want to get over that 30 now. Just
yeah.
trickle over the 30, and then get close to the 40s. But I don't want to blow it out of the water and
You'll get
go
there,
full.
mate. You'll get there. But like I say, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. And believe it or not, mate, that's flew by. So that's it. So thanks for being on the podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, mate. And remember, it's all about the journey, bud.
Yeah, man. Thanks very much. Cheers for having me on.
Cheers,
Cheers,
Ben.
Steve.
We'll catch up,
Thanks,
yeah?
mate. Thank you.
Yeah,
See you in
mate.
a bit. You can always cut it down. What's going to happen? What's Mummy going to do?
And what are we gonna do? Ready?
No.
1, 2, 3.